Minimalism is boring. There, I said it. I said the thing. Now, I used to be against having anything but my computer and the absolute bare minimum accessories sitting on my desk. But that, like I said, is boring. Make your desk space personal. Have some fun with it. It should be a joy to sit down and work at. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Let's get into it. Between all the software changes we got this year for the iPad, I no longer have a Mac. I sold my MacBook Pro earlier this year, and the Mac Studio review unit that I have sent back to Apple. No more Mac. The big key things for me was Final Cut coming to the iPad and the Stage Manager changes we got. So this desk setup is all about using the iPad and making it your main device. The desk itself, I've talked about a bunch. It was built by my dad. I absolutely love it to death. Underneath the desk, I have a rack that's from IKEA. It's just like a cable organization rack. In fact, it's actually two of them. They're 3 feet long a piece. Put right there, holds all the cables up, looks good. Now, the iPad I am using as my main computer is the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. It is the 2 terabyte model because I edit video on my iPad and photos and a bunch of different work. I want the most amount of space I can possibly get, and right now that's 2 terabytes. Where I put my iPad when I'm sitting at my desk is in the MagFloat Pro iPad stand. What I like about the MagFloat Pro is I'm able to set it to be the same height as my monitor. So the MagFloat Pro, we'll get into this in a little bit more, it sits on my monitor stand, and I'm able to raise it up to be the same height, and I use it in vertical mode. I do this for a couple of different reasons. Personally, I would rather just have one monitor and just work from one space because ADHD and focus issues and all sorts of different things, but I can't do that because the iPad doesn't support clamshell mode. So what I do is I use my iPad screen as sort of a dashboard. I have all my widgets up there. Sometimes I'll open up apps like Threads or Mastodon or Discourse, or when I'm editing, I'll have GoodNotes open and have my script on that side and then Final Cut on my main monitor. This way I can reference my script in the B-roll shots and my shot list. Now with iPadOS 17, we got way better external monitor support than what we had in iPadOS 16. The iPad does a much better job at remembering window positions when working from an external monitor. When you unplug and plug back in, it'll try and remember those positions. It also doesn't try and snap windows to the center of the screen. You can move things off to the side, get it out of your way, bring it back in when you want. It's not always trying to like group everything towards the center. Now, I've been using the Apple Studio display since day one, and I absolutely love this monitor. Since it's come out, I've looked around at other monitors, but there's nothing that matches what it can do. It's one of the few monitors on the market that is a proper Retina monitor for iPads and Macs. It has great color reproduction, it's bright, but it is a bit pricey, and I will fully be the first one to admit it is pricey. But the way I look at it is I am using this monitor to make things that I, in return, make money from. So it's paying for itself. It's definitely already paid for itself in the long run, just because of color reproduction, the size, Retina resolution. The speakers are great. Camera's not so great. Coming out of the studio display is a Thunderbolt cable that gets plugged right into my iPad Pro. Now, for the studio display, I do use the tilt and height adjustable stand. I'm 6'1", 6'2", depends on how confident I feel on a given day. Typical monitor stands are way too short for me, so I absolutely needed the tilt and height adjustable one, but I'll talk about that more in just a bit. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN service that protects you and your data. I worked in IT for 9 years, and at one point one day we decided, hey, let's set up a fake coffee shop with a fake network and see if we can snoop on, people's like web traffic and see what we can actually, see. And it was scary how much data we were able to get. With Surfshark, your traffic is completely encrypted from your device to its destination, protecting your privacy. Data is the new gold, and some really scary people will do some really scary things, frankly, to get a hold of that data. One thing I really appreciate about Surfshark is they don't keep logs of your traffic. Those VPN services that do keep logs, they're literally defeating the purpose of using a VPN. With Surfshark, you can change the location in which your computer is coming from, and this is handy for a few different reasons. Say you're traveling abroad, but you're watching a show, you just got done walking ton of miles or kilometers, depending on where you're traveling, and you're just like, oh, I'm beat. I just want to sit down and watch my show. But oh no, the streaming service that doesn't have your show anymore. Well, you can use Surfshark to go back to the country that you're from and finish your show. It also works vice versa as well. I actually like Surfshark so much, I paid for it myself a couple of years ago, and I'm still using it to this day. Right now, you can get an exclusive Surfshark Black Friday deal. Get up to 6 additional months for free at surfshark.deals/lolly and use code lolly at checkout. Now, there are 3 extra USB-C ports on the back of the studio displays. I use these instead of a Thunderbolt hub. These are the full 10 gigabit per second USB-C ports. So they're not as fast as Thunderbolt, but they're not the slow 5 gigabit per second USB-C ports either. Now, none of my regular accessories that I use throughout the day are Thunderbolt accessories, so this is plenty fast enough for me. The first thing I have plugged in here is the Pro Grade card reader. This is both a CF Express and an SD card reader. I use CF Express cards. These are like little memory cards that are really, really fast. I use those for all the video stuff I shoot, and SD cards for all the photography stuff I shoot. I do this because my Canon R5 takes both of those cards, so I just programmed it so video goes to CF Express, photos goes to SD cards, and this helps me keep my media organized. Now, this card reader is also magnetic, so it sticks to my monitor stand that I'll talk more about later in this video. So this way, when I'm plugging in or removing a card, the card reader itself isn't moving, it's stuck to the monitor stand, and that's really nice. The next thing plugged into the studio display in the back is the Anker 2.5 gigabit per second Ethernet adapter. This is an Ethernet adapter that goes to USB-C, and it's faster than a standard gigabit adapter. This gives me a much faster connection than what I would get just over Wi-Fi. It also helps me keep my connection to my NAS running faster, so this way when I need to back up Final Cut projects or media or whatever, I can upload those to my NAS snappy. Now, the next thing plugged into the studio display is a USB-C hub, because the studio display is a few USB-C ports away from being just absolutely perfect. So I found this guy. This is a Belkin USB-C hub. It has 4 USB-C ports, and all of them are supported at the full 10 gigabits per second connection. But for the accessories that I do have plugged in here, I don't need that full speed connection. I've tested it with all of them running, and it runs just fine. This is just kind of a way to give me more USB-C ports without needing to put a Thunderbolt hub somewhere on my desk. Now, the first accessory plugged into this hub is my keyboard. You may have noticed I have a couple of mechanical keyboards. Now, most of these are custom mechanical keyboards that I have built myself, but my current favorite right now is the Mode Envoy. The Mode Envoy is a 65% custom mechanical keyboard. Typically, I do like bigger keyboards, but I've really been enjoying this one lately. This is a build-it-yourself keyboard. It comes completely disassembled. If you're looking for like a beginner custom mechanical keyboard, look at Keychron. Now, I really like mechanical keyboards because you can customize them in really specific ways. You can customize the sound they make when you click a key. You can customize the feeling when you tap on something. You can customize, there's just so much. The keycaps, the look, the design, everything. And I have a lot of fun putting them together. But not all of my keyboards have media keys. This is where I use the BN009 macro pad. This is just a 9-button programmable keyboard. I got some custom media keys from WASD along with 4 blank keys from them as well. I programmed it through VIA, so I'm able to have all the media keys right there. Play, pause, skip, go back, volume up, volume down, right there. And then I have 4 blank keys that I have programmed up with different macros and shortcuts for Final Cut. VIA does unfortunately require a Mac or a PC. Underneath my keyboard, I have the Sidekick notepad. This is a notepad that's kind of the length of a 10 keyless keyboard. You can use this as a wrist rest while you're typing. I also use this as a place to jot down notes while I'm working. This can be stuff I need to reshoot while I'm filming a video, notes for a project that I'm working on, or notes from a meeting I'm in, a quick reminder to do something, or whatever. There's also a task list on the side. I use this to keep track of all the projects I'm working on for that week. This is the perfect tool for somebody like me that has an ongoing fight against ADHD. You know, sometimes I'll get something that pops into my head, and I talk a lot on this channel about being able to capture things quickly. Because if I get a thought that pops into my head and say, oh, I'll come back to that in 10 minutes, that thought will be gone in 3 minutes. Like, there is no way I'm going to remember that. So I have different things around me to just constantly be able to capture thoughts and ideas and whatever. I just absolutely love this notepad. The fact that it serves multiple purposes. It can be a wrist rest as a utility, but also a notepad to jot things down. It's very clever. Now, there is a trick to using this. When you're done with your page, don't throw it away or put it in a drawer or something. Take it and put it underneath the notebook. That way the page height still stays up so you can keep using it as a wrist rest. Now, when I do write long scripts, and I'm talking like over 5,000 words, like really big things like my iPad OS walkthroughs, I will take that and put it to the side and use a traditional wrist rest just because I'm typing for a really long period of time. But if I'm doing emails, writing script outlines, whatever, I just leave this right here on my desk underneath my keyboard. Now, obviously, I use this mechanical keyboard that is on my desk for all my typing, but there is an annoying bug with iPad OS. When you use an iPad with an external monitor and you plug it in, it quickly reaches out to detect if there is a keyboard and trackpad connected. If you have the keyboard plugged into a monitor and then the monitor plugged into your iPad, it doesn't detect the keyboard quick enough. It will just mirror the iPad's display. It'll treat it like it's in a projector mode. So you would then have to go into settings, display, arrangement, and then turn off mirroring. So what I have is an extra keyboard, and I use this keyboard for a bunch of different testing and stuff like that, but I leave it primarily paired to my iPad Pro. So right before I plug my iPad in, I just tap the spacebar, it connects, it sees that there's a keyboard, it sees that there's a trackpad, and I don't have to go in and turn off mirror mode. It's the most annoying bug I frustrate. It's the dumbest thing I have on my desk for the dumbest possible reason, but it keeps me from going insane. Speaking of trackpads, I use the Magic Trackpad. It's the only good trackpad out there on the market. It supports all the gestures with iPad OS. It has good scrolling. I do not know why iPad OS, it supports mouses, but the scrolling with a mouse in iPad OS is horrible. I really wish it wasn't because I would much rather use a mouse than a trackpad, but scrolling wise, you can't beat a trackpad, so if you can't beat them, join them. And the gestures for a Magic Trackpad are really important. You have 3-finger swipe up to go home, 3-finger swipe to the left and the right to go back to the previous stages. Those are all really important. And then for Final Cut, you have horizontal scrolling. Had to think about that one for a second, but you have horizontal scrolling through your timeline. The desk mat I'm using is from a company called Grovemade. This is their extra large wool dark gray desk pad. I really like this as a way to add some contrast to my desk. So obviously the desk mat is a little darker. It's not black, but it's a little darker, and my desk is made out of really light wood. I went with the extra large one because it's the same width as my desk. So that way it didn't look like it was getting cut off at some point. You have the light wood pieces on the left and the right, so you get that nice contrast. I think it looks really good. I did modify this because it's the same width as my desk. I wasn't able to get to my cable management holes. So I just took out my trusty pocket knife, slashed some crosses or some T's, whatever you want to call it, right into where the holes are for my desk. This way I can just pull cables right through. I did this years ago. It hasn't fallen apart. It's held up together great. If we jump all the way back to the Belkin USB-C hub, there is a couple more devices plugged in there. So the next device I have plugged into that Belkin USB-C hub is the Opal C1. Now, full disclosure, they sent me this as part of a sponsorship, but ever since I got it and took it out of the box, it's just been on my desk. I absolutely love it. This is a webcam, and with iPadOS 17, the iPad's got support for external webcams. I've been using this for a lot of my FaceTime calls and video calls and things like that. It's just really nice, and it's a much better quality than the studio display. Now, there's a couple of annoying things about using an external webcam with the iPad. This isn't Opal specific, this is just in general. The first is you can't select your webcam. There's no menu of hey, here's all the webcams you have plugged in. Let you select which one you want. There is no menu. It's the last one detected. So if for some reason this isn't the last camera detected, you have to unplug it and plug it back in. The other issue is WebEx and Zoom still do not support external webcams at the time of recording this video, and it is very frustrating because, oh boy, are those apps still used a lot. And I have to go over to my iPad, tilt it to landscape, and have those calls that way. Now, this is plugged into my hub, but I have had zero issues with it. No stuttering, no lag, no audio drops or anything like that. It's worked perfectly fine plugged into the hub. The last thing that is plugged into that Belkin USB-C hub is my Scarlett Solo audio interface. Again, this is another thing that works perfectly fine plugged into that USB-C hub. No audio drop issues, no issues of any kind. Now, this is an audio interface, and I use this for a couple of different things. First, I use this whenever I'm recording podcasts or recording voiceover for videos and stuff like this. This is where I plug in my mic and record this. I don't use my mic very often, so it's not something that stays on my desk anymore. It's actually in this closet behind me, and I just pull it out when I need it. The second thing is I have my desk speakers plugged into my audio interface, and I can control the volume for those here. Now, the desk speakers I am using are the KRK Studio monitors. These are the 5-inch versions. They sound amazing. Now, these aren't just regular desk speakers. These are studio monitors. They're high-quality speakers that are meant to be used for, music production, podcast production, video production, things like that. But you absolutely can use them to play back music. They sound great. I actually bought these years ago, but took them off my desk when I got the studio display. But I was starting to get a few complaints about my audio being unbalanced when I was using the studio display speakers. Because when I edit video, I check the audio against two devices, headphones and speakers. Once I put these back on my desk, I did a bunch of testing, changed a lot of my audio presets and stuff in Final Cut, and I haven't had any complaints since. So I also use these speakers while I'm filming B-roll. I like to have music going on when I'm filming B-roll. I'm in this room by myself. It's boring. It's quiet. I gotta have something going on. But because of the dynamic island, it will show whatever song I'm playing. So if I'm playing a song and I'm doing this sequence of touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here, that may be 5 different shots that I need to do. And it may take me 5 minutes, 6 minutes or something like that to shoot that. I don't want the songs jumping around up in the dynamic island. So I've kind of had to stop using my HomePods while I film B-roll, and I've been using these speakers instead. And they sound really good for playing music. Now, to switch audio on the iPad, you have to go into Control Center, and you can long press on the Now Playing screen, or you can tap on the speaker icon, and you can select from your different outputs. The centerpiece of my desk setup, and I've alluded to this, is my monitor stand, and this is from the Gather collection. This whole Gather setup was sent to me to review, I want to say last year. You may notice I don't put my monitor stand on the actual monitor. In fact, I put the monitor stand in front of my monitor. Like I mentioned, I use the tilt and height adjustable monitor stand. So I got that before I got this whole Gather setup. So I didn't even have a monitor stand then. But what I like about the Gather stand is I'm able to put it in front of the monitor stand. And when I'm sitting at my desk, you can't see the stand. So it just kind of looks like the monitor's floating there. It gives it this nice effect. The monitor stand is kind of an accent piece for me. I put different things on there, but it's definitely there for looks primarily and a little bit of organization as well. Now, I really love this Gather setup. If they hadn't sent it to me to review, I definitely would have bought the whole set. I love the look of it, but it is very pricey. It's handmade here in America. I believe it's actually made in Pennsylvania. It's made out of metal and wood. The metal's magnetic, so I was able to stick my card reader to it, and I was also able to stick this newest device on there as well. This is the Tuo Smart Home Button. Now, this is a device I heard about from my friend Federico Vitici. He runs Mac Stories, the website. This is a single button HomeKit device, and the bottom of it is magnetic. So I was able to stick it right to the bottom of the Gather monitor stand. Now, this works with both HomeKit and Matter. Now, it has one button, but 3 different modes. So there's single press, double press, and long press. I just got this earlier this week, so I haven't like really come up with my final solution of how I'm going to use this. But right now, the way I have it set up is a single button press starts playing music to the 2 HomePods I have here in my office. Because this works with HomeKit, you're able to actually assign shortcuts to it. So when you go in and start to assign things to the button, you can scroll all the way down and select Convert to Shortcut. In here, I was able to set up using the home actions to start playing music to my 2 HomePods. Double press toggles the lights in my office. It uses an if action to see if they're on. If they're on, it turns them off. If they're off, it turns them on. And long press, I'm working on something for long press, but I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to get it to work. I haven't figured out all the details, but it'll probably end up being a whole video, kind of like my action cut shortcut video. Now, shortcuts through the Home app is very limited. You do not get access to all the actions you would normally get. But what you do get access to are actions like run script over SSH. So if you have a computer like a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio in your home or your office on all the time, you can do some really cool things with that. Okay, so outside of the monitor stand, there are a couple of other Gather accessories that I use that I really like. First is the MagSafe charger. This is one of those MagSafe stands that you have to bring your own MagSafe puck to. The stand itself magnetically attaches to the monitor stand, so this way when you're putting your phone on and off, it doesn't wobble, it doesn't come with the phone, it stays in place. Really nice touch. It's also the perfect accessory for standby. I use this all the time when I'm working at my desk. I just put my phone there in landscape and use standby. And if you have the new AirPods Pro Gen 2 model, those charge via MagSafe as well and have the magnet in them so you can attach them to vertical stands like this and charge them up. Then the centerpiece is the Gather organizer. This is a great place to put different things. The first is a box with a lid. This is where I throw SD cards and CF Express cards that I've used, but I don't want to format. Like I have media on them. I want to just make sure they'll stay on there until like I'm done with a project or something like that. So I throw them in this box. The second is a pen and pencil holder. I have a couple of pens here. I also keep my reading glasses here because I'm over 30 now. And then the last thing is actually a holder for Post-it notes, but this is where I keep my AirPods Pro case when it's not being charged. Having a specific place for those has been really nice because it prevents me from losing them. I used to be really against knickknacks and personalizing your workspace, and I realize how dumb that is now. Have fun with your space. I have a lamp and a fake plant because there's not a lot of sunlight in here. The real plant I used to have died because there's just not enough sunlight in here. I have like my WWDC and Final Cut Summit conference media badges, candles, lightsabers, my YouTube plaque, Legos, books, all sorts of different things in here to just make this space feel like mine and let me enjoy sitting here. Because if you don't enjoy where you're sitting down to work, you're not going to want to sit there and work, and you're not going to work. And I just found I wasn't getting things done. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to be quick about this one, is the wall of keyboards behind me. So all of these but 2 keyboards on this wall, I built myself. They're all custom keyboards except 2 of them. Now, what is holding them up is a pegboard style wall. Those are there. I have hooks. I put all my keyboards up there just kind of as a display thing. I really like them. So that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think about my desk setup in the description below. I'm going to put links to everything I mentioned down there as well. My thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.